Hey, this is Nick Inman from VolumeProfileTrader.com on Sunday, August 12th, looking at the S&P. Really a quiet week that we saw last week. If I really zoom in here so you can see, all we did was slowly drift higher with higher highs and higher lows made throughout the week. Very light volume, so I wouldn't put too much into this move. I'd look at the intraday lows. You can see back on, I think this was Monday, the low was around 1387, 1386 or so. Look at that level, just from a psychological standpoint. If we hold it, then everything's looking good from the upside. If we don't hold it, then you look for some type of retracement. That's just basic, looking at the last 5 days, the last week, looking at the low for the week, with some type of objective judgment as far as what is the market doing right now, what is it trying to do. And obviously we saw it continue to push higher, but the fact that it was on such light volume, I wouldn't put too much into that. Looking at the monthly profile, I'm just going to look at last month and this month. So this month we have the point of control at 1398 or so, basically smack dab in the middle of the range. And our high volume area consists of 1393 up to about 1400 or so. And you can see that's done a pretty good job determining the highs and the lows for this latest move. If we decide to pull back, your target would be down to this high volume area here, 1382, 1377 or so. What that would ultimately do is retrace back to this cluster here where we originally gapped open and kept going, and so on and so forth. So that wouldn't be a bad target to the downside. But when it gets down there, are you looking to buy the dip or perhaps sell the bounce? For example, if we move lower, are you going to be buying this dip, or are you going to be looking to selling into any strength? And that's the main point here. It's hard to tell, but as long as this trend continues to push higher, you want to be buying these dips until it doesn't work anymore. From there, it doesn't get much more difficult. The current levels the range we traded at this past week, we take account for that. If we start pushing away from those levels, then this is your mini base that you're working off of, and you look for higher prices. Probably the highs for the year, 1420 or so. If we push below these levels, then you look down to 1380 or so, and you just kind of go from there. All right, let's look at some other names. NASDAQ continued its trickle-up effect, almost made new highs for the week at the very end of the day, but on Friday, but it didn't. The Dow did make new highs at the end of the day, so that looks pretty good. Just to show you, the VIX continues to tumble. However, I would just keep an eye on it. Eventually, people will buy protection because it's so cheap, and when they do so, just be aware of it and realize that that's usually a sign of some type of pullback, potential pullback, and it's just something to look out for, really. Oil continues to hold its bid. Looking at, let's see if I can pull it up here. Okay, looking at these swing highs back from July, it was also this high volume area here. Market's holding that level so far. As long as it continues to do so for oil, continue to look to be a buyer on weakness. If we get a pullback down to 90 or so, 90 to 87, I still think that's an opportunity to get long oil. Gold continues to hold in there. This looks like it wants to try to break out. You're seeing these higher lows here that continue to form. Flat top, is it going to break out? I think it is. Look at the base it's been building. Look at the resistance pushing up here again. This was a higher low. If the real number for me is 1650, if we clear that with some emphasis, maybe 1650 to 1670. I do think it's off to 1800 on gold and then back to 1900 if it can get there. So I just want to point that out. Silver continues to hold. I don't even think these prices right here right now are a bad place to get involved. And the reason why I say that is because if these lows are successful in holding, then, for example, say you're buying at 28. A stop down around 27 isn't that bad of risk. And your potential, and I see, look at the trend lines, it's still going down, the moving averages. Your next swing high is up at this 2930, 2950 level. I'm just looking at these tails here. And from there, looking from a volume standpoint, you get up towards 31 or 32 before you start concerning yourself. So you have the potential for a nice upside move. If it touches 29 half, let's call it, you're putting yourself in where you're risking $1 to make $1.50. That's not too bad of a deal. But if it pushes up towards 31, 32, then you're risking $1 to make 3 or 4. That's a lot better risk-reward ratio. And if you're right, you're going to make a decent amount of money. So just keep that on your radar for this week. That may be something worth noting. Apple continues to work, not going down. Everything really looks the same, so I'm not going to, bang the table too hard. Transports just continue to trade sideways. I don't bring these up much, but I think it's worth looking at. On a weekly chart, you can see it's just been trading with a slight downward bias. I guess we have a higher low here, but the volume's not even that good. So probably something that you just want to stay away from. If you're looking for a potential trade, McDonald's, this is low risk stuff. Keep a stop under the low from the 8th, which is 86.15, about $2 risk. And other than closing this gap, I think you look up towards 92 as your first major target. And I don't think that's bad at all. Keep an eye on copper. I know I have a bunch of lines here, but this thing just continues to trickle sideways. If this starts to catch a bid, that could be a good thing as far as economic activity market anticipating, a better economic or business environment, people trying to expand, build, stuff like that. Something to look out for. Just keep it on your radar. And not sure what this is. Watch the euro. If it continues to roll over, that'll probably lead to more pressure on the markets. Just pointing that out. The dollar. Well, let's go back to the euro really quick. Let me show you this. On an hourly chart, the euro still holding this high volume area here, the bottom of this. You can see it had a huge move lower. That ended up being rejection. Notice how the first hour of trading for the euro, as far as the pit session goes, ended up being a good opportunity once you saw the hourly bar close. Held the high volume area low and gave you a really nice trade to the upside. Here we are again, back into that level, balancing out. Let it work, but just use these levels as a pivot to trade off of it, if that's something you want to trade or if that's something you do trade. The dollar, on the other hand, last month, July's point of control, rolling off of those levels, forming a volume profile, basically price action, under last month's high volume area. If we hold under 83, which is the point of control for the last 90 days, we should go down and test 81.5. That should be good for U.S. equities. So really, if you look at the euro, if it holds these levels, pushes above 123 towards 124, the S&Ps should make new highs just based off of, copper futures, and the dollar going what looks like trying to go lower. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that you stick with the net long position. It continues to work. There's no reason why it won't. Still, if you find cheap ways to hedge your portfolio, which means paying for a 4-to-1 risk reward, stuff like that, then go ahead and do it because it's probably a cheap shot, probably worth doing, especially if it ends up working out where the market does pull back. But stay focused on your longs. Stay focused on buying on weakness. When that phenomenon changes, I will let you know. But for now, stay focused. Look for your opportunities when you get them, and usually that means against a point of control or a high volume area from the prior month. When you get those opportunities, take them, manage your risk, and if the trade works, let it work. Let it work in your favor. If you have limits set to take profits, that's fine. Just give yourself an opportunity to be successful, and that's the main thing. So, anyways, take care. Have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.